our State House studio in Montgomery. I'm Todd Stacy. Welcome to Capitol Journal. The Alabama legislature met today for the 17th day of the 30-day session before adjourning for another spring break. Before the session started, some had questioned the need for 2 spring break weeks, but given the fast pace and sheer amount of legislation moving in the first half of the session, another week to take a breather and recalibrate has been welcomed by lawmakers, staff, lobbyists, and us in the media. Leading the news tonight is the big announcement from the state's top leaders of a new package of bills aimed at transforming the state's workforce development system. You've heard us report on how the state's 57.4% workforce participation rate is among the country's lowest. State leaders have been working on ways to address that problem by removing barriers that keep potential workers on the sidelines. Governor Kay Ivey, Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter, Senate President Pro Tem Greg Reed, and Business Council of Alabama President Helena Duncan led the announcement.
While we have record low unemployment, our labor force participation rate is one of the lowest in the country. And y'all, that's not low in a good way. In 2015, major reforms were made within the state's workforce development sector. And as governor, I'm calling on our legislature to once again make the needed reforms so that our workforce development programs work better for us and its 2 customers, job seekers and our employers.
If we've got the best incentives in America, if we're doing things as a result of that package like the SEEDS Act, where we're adding sites and doing other things to develop our state and grow, the number one question that's going to be asked by those that are looking to come and invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Alabama is, how can you prove to me you're going to have a workforce when I get ready to invest in your state, and how can you allow me to understand that is going to be reality not only now, but 10 years from now and 25 years from now.
We hear the fact that 43% of working age people are not working. They do not have a job. And some people say, well, they need to get off the couch and go to work, but it's not that simple. You know, when you got families with single moms that's got 2 kids and they're paying $30,000 a year for child care, there's a problem. And I think for us as leaders in the state, we have to try to fix those problems. And I'm excited in this package of bills that we're going to have one for a child care tax credit where families in our state can go to work and be productive for their communities.
Let's take a quick look at that legislation that will start moving when lawmakers return in April. The Alabama Growth Alliance Act will be sponsored by Senator Reed and Representative Randall Shedd. The Alabama Workforce Transformation Act will be sponsored by Senator Steve Livingston and Representative Danny Garrett. The Alabama Career Pathways Act will be sponsored by Senator Donnie Chasteen and Representative Kelvin Lawrence. I'll actually speak with Mr. Lawrence about that later in the show. The Child Care Tax Credit will be sponsored by Senator Garland Gudger and Representative Anthony Daniels. The Housing Tax Credit will be sponsored by Senator Chris Elliott and Representative Cynthia Allman. The Innovation District Act will be sponsored by Senator Bobby Singleton and Representative James Lomax. And the Innovation District Act Constitutional Amendment will be sponsored by Senator Dan Roberts and Representative Neil Rafferty. And there will be budget line items attached to the budgets for this package handled by the House and Senate budget chairman. It is an ambitious package, to say the least, and we will be following it closely here on Capitol Journal. Today, the House passed legislation providing paid parental leave for state employees. If you watched Capitol Journal last night, you saw my conversation about this bill with State Representative Jenny Shaver. House Bill 309 would provide state employees 8 weeks of paid leave after having or adopting a baby. Shaver said her bill is pro-family and pro-worker.
As we've been hearing lately and heard it again this morning about how low Alabama's workforce participation rate is and how hard it is for employers to find good quality employees and hire employees, and the state of Alabama hiring employees is no different. And as a matter of fact, we are at an all-time high over the past 2 decades in our turnover rate, which is currently over 15%. And the governor she commissioned a study group chaired by Treasurer Boozer to look at the issues surrounding hiring and retaining state employees. And the first recommendation they made concerning our ability to increase this was to offer paid parental leave. And so that's what this bill does. It offers eight weeks of paid parental leave for state employees.
The Senate had a small calendar of sunset legislation. Those are the bills that are required from year to year to reauthorize certain state boards and commission. In this case, the Senate reauthorized the State Licensing Board for General Contractors, the Board of Examiners for Assisted Living Administrators, and the Board of Electrical Contractors. But the talk in the upper chamber was all about just what a busy and eventful few months it has been. Republicans view the advancement of bills on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, and the ballot harvesting bill to the governor's desk as notable accomplishments aligned with their agenda. But Democrats perceive these developments as a regression for the state, viewing them as steps backward rather than forward.
You've done a good job, done good work this week. We've done good work for the 5 weeks leading up to the break that we had prior, where we were back in our districts working. I know many of you had a lot of activities going on in your districts this last week. And so congratulations to you on being able to interact with those in your districts.
It was tumultuous, man. It was hard. It was taxing. You know, as I call all of the red meat bills, those bills that I have to say again, that doesn't move the needle in the state of Alabama.
Looking ahead, both the House and the Senate will pivot their attention towards crafting the budgets, the General Fund and the Education Trust Fund. Leaders also indicated a shift towards a more bipartisan approach.
I think we're going to come back in the second half. Bills like we introduce a day workforce and getting people ready for work. I think that's what Alabama needs to be doing. That's the kind of vision that we need to be focusing on, looking out of that windshield instead of our rearview mirror, making sure that we're moving people and doing something that does move the needle and giving people an opportunity for a better life and have a quality of life, and giving our kids something to look forward to. Those bills will give some of our kids the ability to have a diploma that'll take them straight into the workforce.
The number one priority is going to be budgets, and the budget chairs are already working on that. Of course, the governor sent her information over to us, so we have all that. I think the good news is Alabama's economy is strong. The budgets are going to have surpluses, so we're going to have to make some really wise choices. Not as large as surpluses as we've had, but we're going to, again, have a strong budget to work on.
One issue that will await lawmakers when they return in April is gambling. The House declined this week to take action on the scaled-back legislation that the Senate sent them 2 weeks ago. Lawmakers indicated they will take their time before deciding next steps.
I've had some conversations with those in the House. They're trying to go through a process to assess exactly what the changes are. We took their bill, so there's many things about the actual constitutional amendment and the enabling legislation that are the same, but there are things that are different. They're trying to go through and analyze that. I think they wanted to take some time to do that, and I welcome that. I think that's important.
What will they accept up here? Widespread casinos?
That seems to be one that was a major factor, which surprises me because we passed this twice before. But there seems to be no taste for the traditional Class 3 gaming.
You know how this process works. It could be the last day, the last minute that something come out and it works. I never give up on this process just because it looks down. I believe in it. I believe in the people. We get a good conference committee that we can come up with something and we can make it work to present back to both houses and give them a chance to vote it up or down. You know, I really feel good about that.
The Battle for Goat Hill took place last night. That's the annual legislative softball game, pitting the House versus the Senate. With tensions running pretty high in the State House this session, the game offered lawmakers and staff the opportunity to blow off a little steam and have a night of fun and fellowship. The game began with a special video greeting from U.S. Senator Katie Britt, also supporting her husband Wesley, who is a special guest of the House. Alabama Power presented a $10,000 check to the Big Oak Ranch. That's been founded by the family of former Alabama quarterback Brody Croyle, who himself played for the Senate team. I believe that was him. In all, the event raised more than $40,000 for the Big Oak Ranch. The Senate had some good hits early, but this game was dominated by the House of Representatives. Big hitters for the House were Representative Chris Blackshear and Representative Kelvin Lawrence. Their offensive performance led the House to a 13-1 victory over the Senate. Look at that. That's Blackshear. That was a triple. It's actually the House's first win in the 3 years that this game has been played. The way Blackshear was hitting, he was the game's MVP, by the way. There, he's rounding second. The way he was hitting, it was almost like he was taking out some frustration with the Senate over what they did to his gambling bill. Yep, that sealed the game, and now the House gets to celebrate. It was a lot of fun. Let's get some more reaction from the field.
And it goes to Representative Chris Blackshear.
Hey, it's just fun to come out here with everybody and get a chance to play. And the most important thing is we're raising money for the Big Oak Ranch. And that's the most important thing. We give kids opportunities to live dreams and come out and do things like we got to do tonight.
It was well deserved, though. They've been ragging pretty hard all week. We just kind of sat back and let it happen. Showed it on the field tonight. The team played great. We're excited for the win. It's a great night for the House.
A great night indeed. We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online at video.aptv.org. Capital Journal episodes are also available on APTV's free mobile app. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page. And you can listen to past episodes of Capital Journal when you're driving or on the go with Capital Journal podcasts. Keep up with what's happening with Capital Journal.
Welcome back to Capital Journal. Joining me next is State Representative Kelvin Lawrence from Hayneville. Mr. Lawrence, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Don.
Well, you know, it's been a really busy first half of the session. We're a little past the first halfway, I guess. But talk about that, just the pace of it. So many really complicated issues. Y'all in the minority having to kind of fight back and have your voices heard. What's it been like this really busy session?
It's been a whirlwind, specifically for the minority caucus. I kind of liken it to almost kind of trying to drink out of a water hose. It just keep coming at you from issue from the DEI to the absentee voting to just the IVF issue that we didn't see coming. So it's just been a lot of kind of real contentious bills in the first part of the session, and add on top of that having a 3-day work week where we come in, you know, and have committee meetings on Wednesday, and then we go into session. So it's been a difficult session, probably one of the most difficult ones I've had since I've been in the legislature. Now, this is my 10th year.
Yeah. I keep hearing that it's maybe one of the busiest in terms of like big, consequential, debatable, you know, controversial issues, not just one, you know, thing. Well, y'all got to blow off a little steam last night at the softball game. You had a big night. I was noticing you were pretty good at the plate there.
Yeah, we've been kind of working towards. We set our goals ever since last year when we, you know, the Senate kind of defeated us in the game 2 years in a row, and so we just kind of came in with the mindset, listen, this is all business. We know it's fun and it's for charity, but for the House members, it was all business last night, and we was happy to come out with the victory.
I heard that during y'all's practices there were some injuries. Y'all must have been practicing pretty hard.
Yeah, we was really hard and competitive. You know, the first couple of years we kind of allowed anybody that was on the House team to play if they wanted to play, and this year we had a House versus House scrimmage, kind of tryout per se, just to see. And we picked, you know, the best 20 players, and we said, hey, we was gonna go all in on this one because we're tired of them coming down to the 5th floor with bragging rights, and so we was able to take those bragging rights away from them at least for 1 year.
Yeah, well, it's fun, and again, after such a busy, contentious sort of first half of the session, good opportunity for members and staff to blow off steam. All right, let's talk about workforce. This big announcement today, the workforce plan that I've got here, I mean, really ambitious, talking about getting folks kind of off the sidelines, back into the workforce, removing barriers and things like that. You're sponsoring part of this with Senator Chastain about career pathways and really creating career pathways for all Alabamians. Talk to me about your legislation.
So that piece of legislation was derived specifically from the Lieutenant Governor's Workforce Development Commission, and it was well thought out, and I think it's great because, you know, we have to look at people from different perspectives and different lights. You know, everybody's not going to be that 4-year college student. Everybody's not going to want to go to the military. Everybody's not going to want to go to a trade. And so I think with this bill, it puts the focus on creating the pathways that's better suit for that particular individual, that particular student. And I think having all of these measures in place, it just grows for a better, better economy in the state of Alabama. And, you know, that's what we're looking for, because, you know, we have the lowest workforce participation rate, but we have some low unemployment. And so we're just trying to get people back into the workforce. And unfortunately, it's tough. As a business owner myself, we struggle to try to keep people gainfully employed because people just, you know, they're not interested in working for whatever reason those may be. I think
so. It's tough to find workers.
It's tough to find workers, and then when you find them, by the time you train them and get them acclimated to what you want them to do, the retention and turnover rate is so high. So it's just kind of like a revolving door. And I think setting up, you know, pieces of legislation like this career pathway thing, starting them out early to where they want to do something that they really like doing. And I think seeing that moving forward, we can kind of, you know, put this thing on a higher trajectory where we can make sure that we decrease this workforce participation rate and we have a whole lot more people working, which would in turn keep the economy moving forward.
Yeah, it's kind of a paradigm shift, what you're talking about. Like, I'm thinking back, you know, 15, 20 years ago when there was just so much focus on, like you said, 4-year college. Like everybody needs to go to college. That's not the same anymore. I think there's more recognition that that's not everybody's path.
Right.
And so do you think this can really help cement that, you know, and kind of take away that stigma that has been there?
I absolutely do. And I'll give you an example. The average 4-year student that goes to college, they're probably saddled with at least $30,000, $40,000 in student loan debt. Well, with this career pathway and having different options for kids, you can have a kid that has had 2 years of dual enrollment with their high school and a 2-year college. They can come out of high school with a welding certificate making well over $70,000, $80,000. That's generational. That's game changing.
With no debt.
With no debt at all. And so things like that, whether it's having certificates in cybersecurity or coding or whatever, I think those type of careers set people on a pathway where they don't have to worry about student debt if they choose not to go to college. Now, we're not discouraging people that want to take that route in 4-year college, but we're just trying to provide other alternatives because, you know, as diverse as the state of Alabama is, we should have those diverse career pathways for our students as well.
Well, we're going to be following this. This is a big package. It's ambitious, bipartisan.
Absolutely.
So definitely something to follow the second half of the session. Also, second half of the session, I guess we're going to figure out what is going on with gambling. I wanted to ask you about this because you have a facility in your district, Whitehall there, so you're an interested party here. So what, you know, y'all passed a pretty ambitious, comprehensive plan in the House. What came back down from the Senate was scaled way back. I guess maybe there's not a decision that's been made yet, but what would you say might be next? I mean, concur with the Senate changes, non-concur, go to conference? What's being talked about internally in your caucus?
There have been several different scenarios, but I think the most, I guess, obvious one is we probably end up in conference.
Okay.
And hopefully we can work out some details and some issues that you know, both the Senate and the House has in terms of making sure we can kind of get something that we all can agree on to the people of the state of Alabama to vote finally. I think the last vote was in 1998.
I remember 99 was the lottery.
99,
yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you know, regardless of where you stand personally on gambling, good or bad, for or against, I think it's past time for us to give the people of the state of Alabama an opportunity to vote on that. Now, what that looks like, it's 130 of us in the legislature, and all of us have different opinions of what that looked like. But there are some things that passed in the House version that our caucus are really on board with in terms of things that we kind of worked through, and then there are some things that was taken out in the Senate that's probably going to come down to us that we're kind of give us a little heartburn, a little pause about it. Specifically, the amount of revenue that it's going to generate because some of those points of gaming was taken out, and so we're hoping that we can address those issues and come to a happy medium to where everybody can be satisfied with the piece of legislation that we're going to put out for the people of the state of Alabama to vote on.
Yeah, I was talking with Representative Sam Jones, who was really involved in that, in crafting that legislation, and he specifically talked about the revenue and the opportunity that had for health care, right? Whether you call it Medicaid expansion or this other sort of all health plan or whatever you call it. Matter of fact, he said, I don't care what you call it, as long as it offers more folks. But it was all, I mean, it's kind of dependent on that revenue. And so if when they're scaling it back and bringing down that revenue, kind of makes it less likely. So I know that's a priority of the Democratic caucus. So is that the heartburn you're talking about?
Yeah, specifically for the Democratic caucus. You know, we've been fighting this fight probably since the Obama administration, and I think, look, this is my take on it. You know, we don't want to put the Alabama in a situation where they're stuck with a program that don't work, or they're stuck with, you know, a price tag that we can't afford to take up. But I always said this, and it's proven, when the state of Alabama and the legislature make up their mind to tackle a problem and handle it, we always find a way. And I think we just really need to put whatever it is, personal issues, partisan politics, whatever it is, put it to the side to really do something for the people of Alabama, because this is not contrary to what some may think, this is not a black or white issue. This is not a Republican or Democratic issue. This is a people issue, and we have people suffering every day here in the state of Alabama because of the lack of health care. In my community alone, we have people trying to decide, should they pay their power bill or should they buy their prescription drugs? And here in the state of Alabama in 2024, I think that should be unheard of. And so we're just trying to work through some issues and make sure that we create an opportunity where we create a healthy Alabama. You know, we just talked about we have a labor shortage and all this type of stuff.
I was going to
so
say,
all of it just kind of ties right back into each other.
It's a workforce issue, isn't it?
If we don't have a healthy Alabama, how can we increase the labor, participation rate? And so I think it all just kind of comes full circle in terms of making sure we provide a quality of life for the people that we represent and give them all the opportunities they need to be successful here in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something to follow. I mean, going on spring breaks, everybody's got maybe time to ruminate on it a little bit, but certainly we're going to be following gambling going forward because it's just a perennial big issue. And like I said, the House and Senate are so far apart. Well, I appreciate your time. We'll see you after the break. Oh, look, while I've got you, you got a bracket?
I'm actually going to try to get it filled out today.
Yeah.
I've been kind of running around and doing a lot of stuff going on, but I'm definitely going to try to get it filled out today. I'm an Alabama favorite, so hopefully we can kind of get over the hump and maybe get to the Final 8 and the Final 4 this time. We've been making to the Sweet 16 the last couple of years, so hopefully. But outside of Alabama, I kind of like North Carolina.
Yeah, they've been playing very good ball of late. Well, I'm Auburn, and we've got the bracket with UConn. They put us in the toughest bracket, but that's okay. Yeah. It was that way back in 2019 when they made the run.
That's what I said. I think Auburn has a pretty good shot as well. I mean, Bruce Pearl is a hell of a coach.
They're playing great ball.
They're
Janai Broome is just dominant. Yeah, it's fun. I love this time of year.
March Madness.
That's right. I love it. So, all right. Well, enjoy the break. We'll see you back in April.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capitol Journal online anytime at Alabama Public Television's website, aptv.org. click on the Online Video tab on the main page. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page.
Pratt City, Alabama native Osmond Kelly Ingram was the first United States serviceman killed in World War I. He died heroically when a German submarine attacked his ship, and he ran to release the ship's ammunition ahead of the torpedo strike. Ingram was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. The USS Osmond Ingram was named for him, and West Park in Birmingham was renamed Kelly Ingram Park.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night for our Week in Review program. That's 7:30 here on Alabama Public Television. For our Capital Journal team, I'm Todd Stacy. We'll see you next time.